And we said, we are not going to charge, we've been through that nonsense. We're not going to charge musicians to play on Capitol. We're going to play.
What do you mean? People, music. You before those...
To play music on KBC, you have to pay. I'm not lying.
So, okay, let's go into this next thing. So, how do you end up at Capital FM?
So,
and what year is this?
This is 95 or 90, because I just come back from, it's 96, 97. Yeah, so FM started when I was in, 97 was testing, so 97. 97, yeah, 97 is when FM station started. And so two things, it was a new thing. Everyone was talking about, so Capital FM started testing. And you listen to Capital FM, you're like, this thing sounds like international. Atikwapa, Kenya. This is 94.4.
Metro FM was there before though?
No, Metro came after. Metro came when Capital launched. But when Capital was testing, Metro was nowhere.
Testing. Okay.
Fact. And then they started testing the presenter, Phil Matthews, Mzungu. We never had that. And it's a funky station, they're playing funky music. Some stuff we haven't had. And it's, it's so, you know how back in, I don't know if people know this. If you had drillers or friends in the US, they would send you tapes of radio stations. Yep. Now imagine that sound is what you're hearing on your ear.
Yep.
And then they sit there hiring. So let me tell you what I learned when I was taken to Germany by Kenyan. In that curriculum, we were taught how to read the market. This is 1996. How to read the market and be relevant. In 96. And because I knew, if FM station comes up, there's going to be new celebrities, new talent. FM will be the in thing. TV stations will disappear, or so I thought. And so I wanted so badly to be in FM. But for me to be a presenter, I had to...
Forget your brand.
Thank you. Are you seeing that choice?
Yo.
So I had to go to... So I literally had to go and look for a job at Capital FM.
What?
Yes.
So they didn't call you?
No. At first, or later they did. They're like, okay, this is Jimmi Gathu. It's good for our marketing.
But you took yourself there the first time.
I am looking for...
You didn't just chill there, whatever?
By the way, I am still a Coke youth personality. Yeah?
Yo.
I'm the guys.
You're the guys.
Yes. I'm looking for. And I wanted to learn. And so when I joined Capital, I joined as a trainee.
Jimmy.
I need you to remember that, eh?
You are brand kubwa.
Brand kubwa.
You are Coke. The reason you're
Say
Coke.
it, I'm a millionaire.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hadn't even entered that.
Yeah. Fact.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I had money in my account. I had huge amounts of money in my account. I had a nice car. That was it. I think it was the only one in the country. It was called, which is what DJ Adrian bought later, and redid it.
The Bok.
The Toyota Corolla FX GT KH 384. That was my car. It was the only car at the time in Kenya.
My guy.
So I was rolling, bro.
And you took yourself to Capital
because I knew for me to succeed, I need to know how this works. The only way to know how this works is not to fight. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
call me
I don't know. I don't know. So teach me.
So when you went to Capital, what did you do? So
I went to Capital. I was so those days, and this is important. You could never go on there until after 7 weeks of training. 7 weeks, and it's not determined. So you're taught. What
before that, when who did you meet?
So when I went, there were two guys. I met Phil Matthews.
And said, guy.
The first person I met was actually Linda Holtz, who, again, a person who shaped my career. I have a lot of respect for her to this day.
Wake up with Davina and Fareed on Capital in the Morning Show.
This industry is hardcore. And as a woman, as a blonde Mzungu, do you think that's had anything to... Did it help? Did it hinder you?
I think it helped me a lot.
Really?
Yeah, because I think I'd had the exposure of Europe and I'd had the exposure of media in Europe.
Okay.
And then coming here and wanting to bring rock. I mean, the idea was to bring rock to Kenya. And bring a choice of music that you could listen to. You know, my world was all music and tuning into radio in the mornings, tuning in the car, wherever you were listening to radio. So I think that it was received so well. I remember Michael Joseph of Safaricom once saying that Kenyans have peculiar habits.
Yes, that was about the call, the times they called people. Yeah.
But the great thing about Kenyans having peculiar habits and not being loyal to one brand is that if you introduce new things to them, they absolutely love it. So when we introduced rock and Rock Night at Carnival, I mean, they just completely loved it.
Oh my God.
It was so easy to do.
I mean, if you think about rock as Capital was the first taste of rock that the average Kenyan radio listener got, then a rock station was then created at Radio Africa that played just rock, XFM, and that's incredible. That would have never happened if this station hadn't come into the market when it did. That to me is incredible. There was actually a station dedicated to rock music which would have never existed without Capital FM having paved the way.
Imagine that?
It's
The fact
unbelievable.
that in 1996, there was no rock music.
No.
There was no really foreign music here, and it was sort of frowned on. I mean, even when Chris bought the station in 2002, he said, I'm going to take all that sort of Karen housewife Mzungu music off air.
Yeah.
And put some decent Kenyan music
And
on.
funnily enough, the chairman Chris Kirubi grew to love rock. I mean, he used to come and sit here on The Fuse, which is the show from 10 to 2, which plays rock, every day at one point to sit with the girls and listen to rock. He started to really love it. He listened. He actually listened and said, hey, wait a second, this actually works. And then obviously kept the format, I would say as best as he could to what it was. We haven't watered it down. And I think that would have been the big fear you might have had, Linda, when you sold the station, is that because this was yes, of course, it was a business, but it was also a passion project for you, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, it was complete passion. I mean, it really was one of the highlights of my career and my life, and still is. And I'm so proud of Capital and so proud of everybody here. And the team. I mean, it's an amazing team, and you're still managing to go on today. All of you people are doing so well.
Let me tell you.
And we are one big family.
Yeah.
And I think we always will be one big family. All the events that we ever had at Carnival, or road shows we had, I mean, everybody came. And they weren't there to work. They were there to be part of the team and part of the family. And I think that was my job, to bring everybody together. But it was to identify your talents and then train them and make you the best that you can be.
Yeah. And you talk about that family feeling, and Babs will tell you, anyone here will tell you, we still hold on to this here. You know what I mean? We really are. We call ourselves the Capital family. If we are going somewhere, we go together. And that was something that you started, which was also unheard of then as well, was that you do a business is a business, but the business can be a family as well. And we've kept it.
It's totally a family. You have to make everybody feel that they're part of the business and they're part of the company, and they take ownership of that business. And because they did, and look, I walk in today and Shep and Esther, the coffee girl, is still here after 25 years.
That's
Can you
incredible.
believe that?
Incredible.
I mean, we're all going around with our Zimmer frames, but they're still here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is incredible.
She was the owner of Capital FM.
She was the owner of Capital. Her husband then was a director at Sanad Group. And around that time is when Sanad bought KTN, around that time. Anyway, moving on. And I told her I'm interested in being on radio.
They're like, okay, cool, we've had you.
What do you want to be? Say, presenter. And there was Phil Matthews, there was Tony Patty from Kalasinga. Very bad bosses, but very good teachers and trainers. There was John Wilkins, who I'll talk about him later, and there was Dusty Rose, who I'll talk about him later. But so our trainers was Phil Matthews, who was the ish of FM, morning presenter, and he was a programs controller for Capital FM, and he was a trainer because he had a lot of experience. And Phil Matthews, Tony Patty, fantastic trainers. So everything I know now about presentation on radio is from Phil. And let me tell you, me, Caroline Mutoko, Robert Orobi, Bob Kyoko, Zain Verji, were all students of Phil Matthews. We were trained in radio. We were taught how to present. how to prepare for a radio show. We went through it for 7 weeks. We were not picked from the streets. Said, oh, this is Jimmi Gathu. Let's throw you on radio. You will do it. No, we were trained from scratch. It didn't matter who you were. No.
Nothing. Sit and
You
learn.
know nothing. It didn't matter who you were. You start from zero. I did the graveyard shift because so your final week is 2 weeks what they call then the graveyard shift, which is
10 p.m.
from midday,
midday.
midnight to 6 a.m. where guys are not listening to you. Or so you think.
Yes, also I like
Yeah.
that.
But then you made your mistakes, you learn, and they do what you call a record on tape, ROT sessions, and you learn. And then we got into radio.
So when you started radio, where did you start? What show?
Hits a Homework. I used to co-host with Bob Kiboko, who was the original presenter of Hits a Homework.
So what does that mean? Bob Kiboko was...
So Bob Kiboko was the main host. So in radio...
When Capital FM started, Bob Kiboko was the first one who went...
Yeah, Bob Kiboko was the first Hits Not Homework presenter. So when Capital FM launched, Phil Matthews' breakfast show, Zain Verji, mid-morning, Caroline Mutoko, after... let me see. So Phil Matthews 6 to 10, Zain 10 to 1. Yeah, Caroline Mutoko, afternoon. It was called what?
But Caroline didn't even start with launch. I interviewed her. She says that she started just doing those news coming in and giving some, oh, this is traffic or whatever.
Yeah, Kiboko, yeah. But so because Caroline joined before me.
Oh.
When I joined,
Okay.
Mutoko was doing 1 to 4.
Yes. When she says that's after they decided to darken the station.
To darken.
To play the dark music.
Caroline is all of us would say. So and then from 4 to 7 was Joe Tunis on Drive.
So you didn't join immediately it started?
No.
Okay,
No.
I get
No,
it.
yeah.
Man.
And then so I joined. I joined so I can be sitting in for Bob Kiboko when he goes on leave. And then when Bob Kiboko comes back, I co-host with him. And I couldn't do that unless I go through training. It was hard. It was. So here's the difference between radio and television, or so I learned at that time. Radio is live. No take twos. You make a mistake. Oops. It was crazy. And then one day Bob came and told me, dude, so and so while we were doing that, Bob Kiboko and I are musicians.
Yes, Bob
Five
Kiboko
Alive
was in Five Alive.
Yes, and I was in Impulse. And we had gone through the same challenges of trying to put our music on radio on KBC. And then here comes FM stations and artists are coming to us, Maze. And we said, me, Bob Kiboko, Robert Orobi, who was not a musician, but a presenter, and we said, we are not going to charge me. We've been through that nonsense. We're not going to charge musicians to play on Capitol. We're going to play.
What do you mean? People, before those...
To play music on KBC, you have to pay. I'm not lying. It was, I paid 500 bob to have my music play on KBC. Which was not at determined.
Yes, it's not guaranteed.
Not 50 bob,
500
bob.
back then.
In 1989. I'm not lying. If I'm wrong, somebody can say.
Man.
Yeah. And we said, you're not going to charge. That's one. Two, Mazi, these guys have got to do an album. That's the only way.
So if anyone brings you music, fanya album.
That's what I said. Munafanya album? Apana. And then mfanya album kama. And then muletei single to promote. Na hakuna kulipa. Ati hakuna kulipa. Tunalipisha a coin. We never charged anyone a coin. And then
I can't believe you're saying charged like it is a thing.
it was a thing, bruh. Oh, I hear now it's back.
Yeah, now it's back.
We never did it. Me, Bob Kiboko, Mutoko, we never charged artists anything. We needed to promote local music. And the only way, we were there. So technically, we did deserve the many memos we got and warnings. We technically, yeah, because Capital FM was a rock station, not a local music station. And no local musician was doing rock. So technically,
So what do you mean memos? You are being told, listen, guys, what are you...
in fact, there's one time I remember, so here's what happened. So, I get to do, so Bob Kiboko has moved to Nation FM,
Yes.
Nation Radio, Nation FM. And we agree, so him is at Nation FM, but we're going to do our thing.
Skuma these
local.
things.
We get an opportunity to skuma. Yeah, sir. So one time I go to do hits and I find some guy sitting at the reception.